What's up, guys? HockeyTikTockey is back with an all-new video. My name is Leighton, and today I am doing part 3 of a new series where I'm going to make a fantasy hockey team of players that all share the same name. So in part 1, I did Connor. The idea is, imagine there was a hockey team where every single guy, his name was Connor. Then yesterday I did part 2, which was Team John. I'm gonna go over like a recap of those last couple of days, and then we're gonna actually come up with another hockey team, all with the guys with this, all with guys of this exact same name. So the Team Connor, the first team, day 1, we came up with a team called Team Connor, and on this team we have 4 lines, 3 defensive pairings, and then I actually have 3 goalies that could be suiting up for Team Connor. So I'm going to go over each line and defensive pairing combo that we've come up with, and then we're going to go over Team John. So on Team Connor, on line 1, we have Kyle Connor. So his first name is Kyle, but last name is Connor. And I think he plays for Winnipeg Jets. He's an absolute sniper, really big goal scorer, and one of his best attribute is his goal scoring. And I really feel like he'd be a great top line player for Team Connor. First line center, you guys obviously probably guessed it, Connor McDavid. So McDavid's going to center Team Connor and probably be the leader of that team and be the setup man for Kyle Connor. And then on his right wing, playing up with McDavid, I have from the Calgary Flames, Connor Zary. This guy is in his 2nd season in the NHL and is looking to kind of take a huge step forward this year with the Flames. But in this fantasy team, he's playing along Connor McDavid and Kyle Connor. Line 2, I have Connor Bedard centering that line. So Bedard also in his 2nd year in the NHL. He looks poised to be one of the biggest players in the NHL, not in size, but in terms of his impact on the game and in the league for the next couple of years. Next, pretty much, people are basically guessing him to be one of the next generational talent. So Connor Bedard is going to be centering line 2. His line mates are going to be Connor Shari, pronounced Shari, I think, but it's spelled like Shiri. He plays for Tampa Bay currently, and Connor Garland of the Vancouver Canucks. So pretty strong line 2 there. Centering that 3rd line, Connor Dewar. And then on his wings, we have the O'Connors. So Drew O'Connor of the Pittsburgh Penguins and Logan O'Connor of the Colorado Avalanche. Connor Dewar, Drew O'Connor, and Logan O'Connor. Line 4 for Team Connor, we have of the Edmonton Oilers, Connor Brown on a line with Connor McMichael and Connor Geekie of the Tampa Bay Lightning as well. So that's the forward group for Team Connor. Very strong forwards. I mean, line 1 and line 2 are both extremely powerful with McDavid and Bedard sort of centering, and really good firepower with Kyle Connor and Connor Zary, Connor Garland kind of being some snipers on those top 2 lines. And then we've got some pretty good gritty shutdown 3rd and 4th lines for Team Connor. And then we get to the defensive pairings. So the defense for Team Connor, not gonna lie, guys, I think it has a lot to look up to in terms of how strong each one of these teams is going to be. So on defensive pairing 1, we've got Connor Clifton and Connor Timmins. So not the strongest first defensive pairing. And it gets a little weaker down the line there. The next defensive pairing is Connor Mackey and Connor Timmins. And then the third pairing goes all the way down to Connor Carrick and Connor Corcoran. So, not the strongest D, especially considering that none of these Connors playing in the Team Connors defensive pairings, I think would be considered like first pairing defensemen. Goalies for Team Connor are Connor Hellebuck, Vezina Trophy guy, extremely reliable and safe starting goaltender, and one of the stars of the NHL right now in terms of goaltenders. Connor Hellebuck, leading the way for Team Connor in net, is extremely strong. You couldn't really ask for a better goalie when it comes to a team, but this fantasy team exercise. And then his backup had a great resurgence last year. I think he's been bouncing around the league a little bit, but ended up doing really well for a long stretch last year with Arizona, now known as Utah, but formerly of Arizona. Connor Ingram had a really strong showing last year, and he's a great backup for Connor Hellebuck. And then just for fun, we put in a third goalie. He shares a name for name with one of the defensive pairing guys. Connor Murphy is the third string goalie for Team Connor. So next up, we're doing Team John. So Team Johnny, we have again 3 defensive pairings, 4 lines, and 3 goalies. I'm going to go over this team and we'll do a little comparison, and then we're going to get into Team Matt. Matt is going to be the next name game that we're going to play with the Hockeys. So Team John, we have line 1 centered by J.T. Miller of the Vancouver Canucks. His real name, or true first and last name, is Jonathan Tanner Miller. So Jonathan Tanner Miller is centering line 1, power forward, really great player for Vancouver. And on Team John, he's going to be first line center. His wingers is going to be a great playmaker from Calgary, Jonathan Huberdeau. And on the right side, he's going to be flanked by Jonathan Marchessault. So we have the Marchessault, Huberdeau, JT Miller line 1. Line 2, we have one of the all-time great two-way forwards, John Tavares from Toronto Maple Leafs, centered by 2 really hot, up-and-coming young players, the Johnston and Johnson connection. So Johnston is from Dallas. That's Wyatt Johnston. He is a breakout player, somebody who really made a huge impact for Dallas last season. And Johnson is a really dynamic, skilled young forward for Columbus Blue Jackets. I think playing alongside Johnston and John Tavares would only help him out quite a bit. And then on line 3, we have John Beecher from the Boston Bruins. John Beecher is not typically playing center as far as I know, but I'm having him center this line because we're running low on Johnny center options. Jonathan Drouin on left wing, and then John Jason Peterka playing for Buffalo right now. He's a really good up and comer actually, John Jason Peterka. So that line 3 looks pretty strong. In some areas, John Jason Peterka at right wing I have him at, and Jonathan Drouin, he looks like he could be a good fit with Beecher and Peterka, so we'll see what happens there. And then line 4 is where the depth of the John starts to run a little dry. So I have a professional player not currently with a contract. He did a PTO this year with Boston, but I don't think he ended up getting signed. So he's currently not playing in NHL right now, but maybe could get signed at some point. We don't know. His name is Tyler Johnson. So we have Johnson centering line 4 for Team John. And His line mates are Johnny Brodzinski. I think he's a Ranger as far as I know, and Jonathan Berggren on his right wing. So Team John looking pretty strong. I don't know if their forward depth is as strong as the Team Connors that we just went over, but their defensive pairings are looking really good. So defensive pairing 1, I have a guy named Jonas. His name starts with Jon, so we counted him. Jonas Brodin of the Minnesota Wild. So Brodin was a really good shutdown defenseman, somebody who's very strong, can be a minute muncher, and he's paired up with John Carlson. So John Carlson is an offensive defenseman paired with Brodin, more of a shutdown defenseman. I think that would be a really strong pair, to be honest. Worthy of being a first pairing of really talented defensemen there for Team John. So that's defensive pairing 1. Defensive pairing 2, we have some veteran players, guys with over 30 years of experience in the NHL between the two of them. We have Johnson and Johnson. That's right. Jack Johnson and Eric Johnson playing as a defensive pairing on defensive pairing 2 for Team John. And then rounding out the John lineup, we have John Marino and John Merrill. So I think that this grouping of 6 defensemen is much, much stronger and more talented than the Connors that we had over on Team Connor. So that might equalize things quite a bit. But then when we get to the goalies, we have a bit of a discrepancy here, because I gave Team John 3 options in net: Jonathan Quick, Jonathan Gibson, or John Gibson as he's known, and another guy named Joonas Korpisalo. So I kind of cheated there with Korpisalo, because Korpisalo is technically named Joonas, Joon, not Jon. But I counted Jonas Brodin earlier, so I don't know. You guys can let me know if you think that one counts or not, but that is Team John. We got John Gibson, Jonathan Quick, and Joonas Korpisalo in net for the Team Johns. Now we're getting into the brand new team that we're unveiling today, Team Matt, Team Matty, Team Matthew. So this team, the requirement is you have to have Matt in your name, M-A-T, to qualify for this team. And you guys are going to see this is one of the strongest teams that I've come up with so far for the name game. So Team Matt is centered by Austin Matthews as their first line center, the goal scoring machine, Rocket Richard winner, and probably one of the best options to have as a first line center in the league. And he's going to be flanked on his left wing by none other than the Florida Panthers Stanley Cup champion, Matthew Tkachuk. So think of that combo there, guys. Matthew Tkachuk and Austin Matthews on the same line. Might happen one day if they both play for Team USA. But in this fantasy name game, we have Matthew Tkachuk and Austin Matthews as a combo. And then on the right wing, I have Matt Duchene as their right wing. Now, Matt Duchene, I think he technically plays center, but I have so much center depth right now for Team Matt that I kind of figured that he might make the most sense as a fit there with Matthews and Tkachuk. Just based off of, I think he shoots right, so he could play the right side. And Matthews is a goal scorer. Tkachuk is just a disturber on the ice, and he can dish as well. So I think that would be a strong combo for line 1. Line 2, I have Matt Barzal. Barzal, I think, is normally playing first line center for the New York Islanders, and he has been for years and years, but he's a really good sort of two-way player, so I think he could be a really good, strong second line center. And on his wing, I have 2 Minnesota Wild players, Matt Zuccarello and Matt Boldy. So Matt Zuccarello, Matt Boldy, centered by Matthew Barzell, would be line 2 for Team Matty. Line 3 is centered by Matty Beniers of Seattle Kraken. And this is where it gets crazy, guys. Like I said, the center depth for Team Matthew is so strong that we have a guy like Matty Beniers, who probably is a first line center for Seattle, playing way down the lineup, playing on line 3, because we can't find any other spot for him in the top 6. So Matty Beniers is going to be the center of this line. So there is so many options right now for the forward depth of Team Matt that I don't even know how to construct these lines, guys. So I have right now Matty Beniers centering line 3. But who should we put as his wingers? I don't even know right now, guys. There's so many options. So guys that I'm thinking about putting up with Matty Beniers right now is Matthew Nyes. I think he currently is playing with Austin Matthews in Toronto as his winger. So he's a top line player, but he could be playing with Matty Beniers on his line. Matt Coronado of Calgary is a up-and-comer as well, a sniper, and he could be playing on his wing. I have Matvey Michkov of the Philadelphia Flyers. Matvey, so his name is Matvey, so I'm going to count that. It's a M-A-T, it's a Matt. His nickname could be Matt, why not? Matvey Michkov could be playing on that line as well. And then there's another center, Matthew Poitras of Boston Bruins. There's Matthew Joseph. There's Matthias Maselli. There's Matthias Janmark. There's too many options right now. So I'm going to finalize this line by sticking Matthew Nyes. I'm going to put him on the line with Matty Beniers because he plays first line with Matthews in Toronto. So I think he would be a good fit there. On the right side, I'm gonna put Matvey Michkov there. For line 4, this was such a tough decision. But for line 4, I'm gonna make it so that Matt Poitras. Okay, so for line 4, I've put Poitras in the center from Boston. And then on his wing, I'm going to have Matthias Maselli along with right wing Matt Coronado of the Calgary Flames on line 4. So that's line 4 for Team Matt. And the notable guys that got left off the list for their forward depth is Matthias Janmark, guy named Matthew Joseph, Matthew Steinberg, Matt Neckis. There's a bunch of other options that could probably fit into Team Matt, but there's only that many roster spots for this team, so those are the forward line combinations for Team Matt. On to the defensive pairings. We've got 3 really strong pairs as well for Team Matt. On defensive pairing 1, I've put Matthias Ekholm of the Edmonton Oilers, a first defensive pairing unit guy, a really, really strong defender, somebody who is always there to take care of business on his end of the ice, along with Matt Dumba, who I think is currently injured, but it's all good. We're going to stick him on that defensive pairing for now with Ekholm. And another shutdown, really strong, stout defensive guy on the second pair, I have Matt Grzelcyk, who I think is now in Pittsburgh, but had been a really steady defenseman for Boston for many years. I think usually on their second pair, so I have him on the left side of the second pair for Team Matt Grzelcyk, with Matt Roy. I don't know if it's Roy or Waugh, how to pronounce it, but Matt Roy or Matt Raw is going to be the second pair defenseman with Grzelcyk. And then on the third pair, we have Matthias Samuelsson of Buffalo Sabres, third pair, and Matt Benning on that pair as well. So we got Matthias Samuelsson and Matt Benning, and Matthias Ekholm, Matt Grzelcyk, Matt Roy, Matthew Dumba. That's the Matts playing for the D for Team Matt. Now we get to goal. This is where the other teams, Team Connor, Team Johnny, might have a bit of strength on Team Matt, because there's not a lot of options when it comes to the goaltending department. But I've come up with 3 options as well for goal. And the funniest part of this goaltending tandem for Team Matt is that their names are both Matt Murray and Matt Murray. So Matt Murray is going to be starting and backing up Matt Murray. So how that happened is there's 2 different goaltenders, both with the exact same name, Matt Murray, playing in the NHL right now. One of them is more of a veteran goaltender. He's been around the league a little bit. I think he won a Stanley Cup before with Pittsburgh quite a few years ago, and most recently I believe was playing with Toronto as far as I remember. I don't even know if he's still on the team or not, but Matt Murray, the veteran, and then we have a young Matt Murray, up and coming. I think he's only played a couple or a handful of NHL games so far, but he's going to be the other goaltender for Team Matt. And then the third string option, I wrote him down. His name is Matt Berlin. I'm going to just look him up real quick. Matthew Berlin. He plays for Edmonton, or at least was in Edmonton his last appearance in the NHL. He played 1 game for Edmonton back in 2023, and he made 1 save. So I guess he was probably just a backup type goalie a few years ago, like a third stringer that somehow got in for a couple of minutes of game time back then. So those are the 3 options: Matt Murray, and Matt Berlin playing for Team Matt. And those are the lineups. So Team Connor with Connor McDavid at the helm versus Team Johnny with Team JT Miller, Jonathan Huberdeau, and Jonathan Marchessault at the helm, versus Team Matty with Matthew Tkachuk and Austin Matthews leading the way. Who do you guys think would win, Matt, John, or Connor, if these were real NHL teams?